Hi, I'm Simona Leroy, and this is the module about Step 1, Observe and Analyze Your Child's Fear, from the course presenting the PAF method for overcoming children's fears. In this module, I will take you into the heart of fears. There, I will guide you in order to identify, observe, and understand the secret levers, the secret keys of fears. Those levers, those keys, will allow you to better understand the problem and quickly take control over fears. At the end of this module, your task will be to identify, observe, and understand the fear of your child and the secret levers, the secret keys of his fear. In order to help you accomplish this task, I prepared a supporting questionnaire that you will find in Tools. You may use it at the end of this module. So let's start with the first chapter of this module, Children's Fears. In this chapter, I will answer three important questions. First question, when and why fears appear? Second question, is fear a bad emotion? And last question, how can we differentiate a fear from a phobia? And now let's talk about the first question, when and why childhood fears appear. Babies cry when they see an unknown person. 4 or 5 years old children are afraid of monsters. Children of 8, 9 years old are afraid of natural disasters. Most fears arise at predictable ages. This means that childhood fears are somehow linked to the development of the child. There are many factors related to the intellectual, social, and emotional development of the child which favor the appearance of fear. Among them, there are two factors that allow parents and educators to understand children's fears and propose solutions to overcome them. Those factors are the capacity of anticipating and the capacity of evaluating. In other words, childhood fears appear when the child gets the capacity to observe and evaluate a situation and anticipate that something or somebody can hurt or endanger him. In order to better understand this important point, I will give you some examples. Early fears are generally felt around the age of 6 months when babies are able to differentiate familiar and unfamiliar faces and are able to anticipate that the separation from parents or the presence of a stranger could place them in an unsafe and uncomfortable situation. Most common fears experienced by children aged 3 to 7 are fear of darkness, some animals, monsters, masks, ghosts. At this stage, children learn many things about the world, the life, but in the same time, the unknown and unfamiliar is increasing. One of the problems is that at this stage, children cannot separate reality from fantasy, and imaginations plays a large part in their process of evaluation. Another problem is the fact that the database, the information of children at this age is fragmental and incomplete. Therefore, the evaluation is done on the wrong basis. At this stage of the development, the child's capacity to anticipate also increases. Children aged 3 to 7 are using lots of information, tools, and even emotions to evaluate and anticipate a situation. The child becomes able to construct several scenarios. That's a good point. The problem is that the child can use the same abilities, the same new capacities to imagine negative scenarios. Children of age 7 to 12 often fear snakes and spiders, storms and natural disasters, teachers, failure, rejection, injury, illness, doctors. At this stage of development, children can differentiate between reality and fantasy, and their database is continuing to expand. This database contains not only information but also many experiences. It contains their own experiences but also those of their friends and relatives. Kids at this age are better prepared to assess a situation. The biggest problem at this level is the fact that the child's anticipation capacity is strongly influenced by self-esteem and self-confidence. Now the child pays attention not only to what can place him in a physical danger, but also to everything that can affect him morally. And now we have a very interesting question. Is fear a bad emotion? Well, the answer is not simple. Fears are normal. They are also necessary. Fears help protect us. They make us alert in the face of a danger and prepare us to deal with the unexpected situation. It is very important for children to have a healthy sense of caution. Dealing with fears hands-on prepares children to handle the unsettling experiences and challenging situations of life. For children, fear is a very strong emotion, an emotion they cannot neglect. They cannot say, "Oh, I'm afraid of monsters," the same way they will say, "Oh, it's raining outside." Fear compels children to react, to research, and apply different defense strategies. Some of these strategies help children to become stronger, wiser, and more adapted to face life, resilient. Fear can push the child to explore, to use his creativity, to develop his imagination, his intelligence. For example, play with the darkness, draw a new machine which can transform all monsters into dust, invent a sound, a dance which can chase away all fears, learn about animals. Successful experiences strengthen early self-confidence and give the child the necessary courage to face new challenges. But fears can also be inhibiting for some children who did not find the most efficient strategies to overcome fear. They are not prepared to fight. These children can only look for a safe place for protection. To avoid certain situations, some children refuse to play, refuse to explore, refuse to be away from home. Some of them are withdrawn, shy, and can fail to learn important social skills, causing later in life social isolations. When fears persist, problems can arise and the anxiety becomes a phobia. So fear is a healthy emotion, but only if your child is able to deal with it, to fight with it, to handle it. We cannot protect our children from every stressful situation. Life brings us each day such situations. We cannot banish fear from our children's lives. But what we can and must do is help them to better evaluate and anticipate a situation and to find method strategies that can transform the experience of fear into something which will make them stronger, wiser, more adapted to face life. Winners! When a child is frightened, parents have a dilemma. Is it a fear or a phobia? How can we differentiate? The answer is often not easy because fear and phobia have many points in common. Fears and phobias are reactions to what we anticipate to be dangerous. The difference between the two is symptoms intensity and duration. Symptoms of fear and phobia are common: sweaty hands, stomachache, headache, accelerated heart rate and breathing, nausea, behavior changes. As long as it is just a fear, the intensity of these symptoms is mild to moderate. If the reaction of your child is uncontrollable, disproportionate to the cause of the stress, if the symptoms are so strong that they interfere with the child's quality of life and affect his abilities, it may be the case of a phobia. This is a very important point. The PAF method for parents deals only with fears. After the theoretical chapter, let's move on to the practical part of this module, the second chapter, analyzing your child's fear. As I already said, there are several factors involved in the emergence and evolution of fear. We will focus only on those that can help parents and educators gain a better understanding of the child and build an effective actions for overcoming the fear. In order to make these observations simple and effective, I propose you a list of 4 questions. As I said in the beginning of this module, in Tools you will find the questionnaire containing these questions. You can print it at the end of this module and use it. Answering these 4 questions will help you establish an accurate description of the current situation, fix the steps and goals of your project, and select the activities that will lead you to the desired result. I will explain all this in detail in step 4. For the moment, let's talk about the first question. What does your child exactly fear? It is a very important question, especially in the case of young children who are not yet accustomed to explaining in detail. For a young child, it is very difficult to explain, to put fears in words, and very often he offers parents partial information, such as, I don't want to go to my room, I'm afraid I want to sleep with you. Well, there are many causes that can lead a child to be afraid to sleep alone in his room. Fear of loneliness, fear of certain noises, fear of the dog, fear that parents will abandon him, fear of monsters. So, when your child says that he's afraid to go in his room, you have to find what frightens him in the room. Darkness, monsters, loneliness. The answer to this question allows you to know exactly who is the enemy. Against whom should you focus your actions? Some activities are effective if the child is afraid of the dog, and totally different actions are effective if he is afraid of monsters. The second question that you should answer is when and how this fear appeared. Many keys that will allow you to better understand the fear, how it appeared, and why it developed are found within the context. You have to understand what is the context in which the fear appeared. It appeared during daytime or nighttime? Did it appear suddenly or after traumatic event? Did it arise when the child left the house for school, after the arrival of a little brother, or other events that can break the usual routine of your child or can put him in stressful situations? A fear that occurs after a traumatic event can be a symptom of something that the child did not understand, did not digest. In that case, before you deal with the fear itself, it is necessary to talk to your child about that event to help him understand it and, in some cases, accept it. Answering the question of when the fear appeared will help you see if it is a fear that also occurred in other children at that age, something somehow normal. It can also help you notice if this fear is incipient or has the potential to become more severe. An old fear comfortably installed needs in most cases to be fought harder than a fresh fear. And now comes a major question. What are the ingredients of fear? Under what condition does it appear? What are the elements that trigger and maintain your child's fear? These ingredients are different from one child to another and may be related to the presence or absence of parents, the dog, the presence in the room of books about monsters, the existence of some hidden spaces such as those under the bed, behind the curtains, so on. This question is extremely important because it allows you to observe the ignition of fear. What triggers it? Closely related to this question, we have another one. What are the ingredients that can reduce fear or make it disappear? What helps the child to fear less, to dominate his fear? To answer this question, you must look closely at the context in which fear appears. You must pay attention to every detail. Knowing all of these ingredients is very important. Knowing the objects, places, items that can lead to fear or diminish or annihilate it allows you to have some control over fear. You can use this information to adjust your actions and invent games and activities adapted to your child's situation. And now let's move to the next chapter, in which I will explain you how can we obtain the answer to all these questions, how to observe. These tips regarding how to observe your child can be used also in order to accomplish the other steps of the PAF method. The most common and simple way to obtain information is to talk with your child. Ask simple questions and listen carefully to the answer. Do not interrupt your child no matter how absurd his answer seems to be. At this stage, the goals are to understand the child and to make him feel confident. It is very important to ask simple questions, general questions. For example, you can ask, why are you afraid to be in your room? What do you think could happen? What's in your room that makes you scared? You should avoid all questions that suggest or infer answers such as, are you afraid of monsters? Are you afraid of the dark? Avoid also questions that can influence or induce a new fear. For example, you do not want to go in your room because it is dark and there are big monsters hidden under the bed and they will swallow you. So avoid all these kind of questions. This is very important. Do not insist with too many questions. Do not interrupt your kid. Just try to understand him. In addition to your child's answers, you should use your own observations. For example, if your child says that he is afraid to be in his room, go with him. Observe everything that provokes reactions of fear: darkness, a specific part of the room, certain noises, solitude, objects. Watch your child when he plays, when he sleeps, when he thinks that he is alone and speaks with his toys. Write down everything your child says and all your observations. Mark the date of each event that occurs in your child's life and the date of your observation. These notes will help you better understand the situation. You can also use these notes to observe the evolution and the progress of your child. We arrive at the end of this module about step 1 of the PAF method. Now you may use the questionnaire from tools and find out who or what provokes fear in your child. When does the fear surface? Where? Under what circumstances is it manifesting? What occurs or can lead to the extinction of that fear? Keep this information for step 3 and 4. In the following module about step 2, I will give you the keys that allow you to observe your child and his reactions in difficult situations. The next step is very important. We are going to focus our attention on those elements that structure the way your child sees himself, how he solves a problem, and how he relates to others.